official newspapers and posting on the bulletin board. And we will have a roll call, please, Trina.
Mayor Barker?
Here.
Mr. Jacobs?
Here.
Mr. Sacco?
Here.
Ms. Christie?
Here.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Here.
Ms. Rexall? Mr. Leonard?
Here.
Mr.
Here.
Mr. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Patrick?
Here.
And Ms. Patrick?
Here.
Now, flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, I'm just serving as Chairman Pro Tem, and I'm here for one item of business, and that is the first motion. Is there a motion to nominate a person for chairperson for 2018?
I will make the motion to nominate Carol Gutschall.
I'll second.
Second. Are there any other nominations? There are no other nominations, so we'll treat this motion as a motion to nominate and appoint Mrs. Gutschall as chairperson of the board for 2018. And a roll call, please.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Sacco?
Aye.
Ms. Christie?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
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 Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Mr. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Patrick?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, it's in your hands now.
Thank you. Always humble practice.
And I'm glad to see our wonderful back and those we up. And consistency. So I guess what we need to do next is,
Now the election of vice chair.
oh, we need a vice chair. So we need
Jeff Leonard.
Second.
I motion to close the nomination.
You can treat it, it'll be a motion to close and to nominate and appoint Jeff Leonard as the vice chair.
okay, we'll close the,
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Sacco?
Aye.
Ms. Christie?
aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Ms. Rexall?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Mr. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Patrick?
Aye.
You can report in the record, too, that all members are sworn and have done their written oath of office, and the secretary has copies of the written oaths. So we're reorganized for that purpose. Now we have the next items, the professional services, the meeting dates, and the board secretary. You can
You wanna
do them,
resolution
do each independently, but the first one groups Mr. Ferrero, Mr. Banish, and myself as your professionals.
Motion
Motion
to
to approve.
approve.
Motion to
To
approve.
approve.
Second.
Hold on.
What happened?
Catch up.
Hold on. Mr. Collins did, for the record, Mr. Collins did not make the motion.
No.
I thought my friend did.
Well, I tried, but apparently you can't.
It was a very quick second,
But I apparently could not. I mean, it was like a goaltending.
Rich already passed the motion to adjourn, so.
That was like goaltending.
Hey,
Trying to beat the 7-minute record.
be expedient.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Sacco?
Aye.
Ms. Christie?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Ms. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Rexall?
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Board members.
Okay, now we need a motion to set our meeting dates. Okay.
Second.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Sacco?
Aye.
Ms. Christie?
Aye.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Butler?
Aye.
Mr. Sabatini?
Aye.
Ms. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Rexall?
Aye. We need a motion to approve our board secretary.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Mr. Sacco?
Aye.
Ms. Christie?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Zutler?
Aye.
Mrs. Sabatini?
Aye.
Mrs. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Sutton?
Hi. We have minutes from December 14th that we need to approve. Has everyone had a chance to look
Well, 7 minutes.
at all seven?
I think it took longer to read than actually
Have the meeting, yes.
execute.
Right.
Do I hear?
So I move to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. We have no correspondence, and we do have, the public, we'll open it up. Sorry.
Tonight.
We need a determination of completeness, and I think Tom, you're going to do that. Paul?
Yes, Paul just asked me to cover this for him. He had another meeting. But basically, this is very straightforward. It was a small change of 600 square feet at the existing guest suite at Lamington Farm, Trump National, and laundry room. And the items for completeness that Paul recommends waiving are listed on the back, but they're checklist items that are unnecessary for this small change, including checklist item 8 about performance bonds, checklist item 51 about proposed screening. And based on the scope of the application, he has no objection to that waiver, and similarly for item 56, road cross sections and profiles, based on the scope of the application, the office has no objection to the waiver. So if the board would accept it, it would be a motion to waive the remaining items for completeness and to deem the application complete. Is there such a motion?
Second.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Mrs. Baker?
Aye.
Mrs. Sycamore?
Aye.
Ms. Christie? Aye. Mr. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Aye.
Mr. Leonard? Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Mr. Zutler?
Aye.
Mrs. Sabatini?
Aye.
Ms. Patrick?
Aye.
And Ms. Sutton?
Aye.
Madam Chairman, Trina has informed me that you probably will only need one meeting in February, so you could pick either one. And Trina, the dates were the 1st,
On the 1st and the 8th.
the 8th. Either one would work for Paul. I think for
The
Paul.
applicant nor Paul might have but this is the only application
I won't be able to make it on
Okay.
Okay.
the first.
And then,
February
at
1st.
any dispatch from the applicant,
Right, if the applicant can't do it, or Paul, maybe we'll make it the 8th, but
Mhm.
it's a small application anyway, so.
Yeah.
That's about it. That's really our only mandatory item of business, but the board may want to discuss
Okay.
things.
I'll open it up to the board.
Well, I will say with the beginning of the year, for one thing, congratulations, Carol and Jeff. We need good leadership, and you've provided good leadership, and we're happy that you're coming back. As to all members of the board, I'm very pleased that everybody's coming back. We have had a really good board. We continue to have a good board, and I appreciate all your service. This coming year, Mayor Holtaway has told me that we should expect to have the first draft of the master plan revision, hopefully maybe by March. So we look forward to getting a hold of that. That is something, it's a draft. It is not an end product. We have discretion over that because we are the governing body for that. We asked the subcommittee to draft it, but we have a lot of leeway. We have ultimate leeway as to how that will eventually turn out. One thing that was stressed when that was proposed was we're looking at our commercial corridor and with some respect towards specifically the AT&T campus. Because should that change into something else, I think this town needs to be prepared for that. and we should be very conspicuous with the public on this so that we can get input, good, bad, or indifferent, as to what this town is willing to have and willing to live with and would like to encourage in that area. Probably will not be unanimity of opinion on that, but I think we owe it to the public to be very open about that. So I look forward to that as the coming year commences.
Steve, how many acres is that property?
I don't know.
Gotta be 300 acres.
I could give you a number, but I
No, that's-
would probably be
I-
inaccurate.
I don't know exactly.
It's large, but then there's the Moreland Farms tract, which is a separate open space tract.
Right, a good chunk of that property is, has restrictions on
Wetlands and river runs.
I have a question. When the Somerset County Redevelopment Association, I'm not sure what the real name is, came and made that presentation, but is that just food for thought? Is that going anywhere? Do they have any plans? Anyone remember what, like they came and made a presentation, but we haven't heard anything else. I just was wondering.
No, it was a study that they, Somerset County Planning Department prepared pursuant to a grant that they got from the North Jersey Transportation Planning Authority. They issue it as food for thought in conjunction with various municipalities for all the different study areas. They've given us the opportunity to apply for a grant. I don't say it's in conjunction with Highlands.
Probably is.
For a planning grant to further evaluate those options that they presented. The township did authorize the application for the grant, and if the grant is awarded, we can have some money to spend on planning to further evaluate what the Somerset County Planning Department presented. Not tied into it,
Right.
changing it, tweaking it, or just letting it go.
Okay, so my question is, when we have to start looking at the master plan, is that something we might want to bring them back in, maybe make a presentation for us again, or think about some of the suggestions they made?
Well, I think a lot may depend on the grant itself. If the grant is awarded, then both in conjunction with Somerset County Planning and then being able to retain a planner through that grant to work with the planning board and perhaps the master plan subcommittee to consider the options that were presented. But as Steve said, planning resides here.
Right. Okay. Wanted to follow up.
Yep,
Thank
it's
you.
not, it has not been shelved, at least the report has been shelved. There's still some issues to consider, and that really, if we do get that grant, we've got some free planning money to spend.
Do we think that AT&T is planning on going someplace else? Or is anybody's guessing?
I think a couple of years ago, they signed, now it's looking like about a year and a half, 2 years ago, they signed, I believe it was a 7-year lease. But I will tell you, in the 18 months, I think the world has changed several times over, and I think it's really hard to predict what the climate was. I think a lot of people believed at that time that that might have been the last intention they had as a Texas headquartered company to remain in this part of the world. I will tell you, I could look at the last 6 months and say, well, maybe not. And somebody could be bought or merge or whatever in the next 4 or 5 years, and it could change again 1 or 2 times over.
It's interesting because the company's got tremendously deep roots here.
No doubt, but you can look at Merck and some other companies that have had a lot of deep roots that have just decided to get out. And again, I will be, my one man's opinion is, I hope they're here till 10 years after I die. But if they're not, I think we owe it to the taxpayers and the tax base to be prepared and be doing, and so this should be a big what-if exercise. If they stay, nothing will ever change.
Due diligence.
But I probably won't be mayor at the time, but if that happens, that they announce that they're leaving,
Prepared.
well, I don't want to be the one standing next to the microphone with a bunch of questions. Well, what do we do now? So I think we owe it to be prepared.
Two questions. Do you have any sense of how much money they continue to invest in the infrastructure there, the technology there? Are they pulling permits to do stuff there? That kind of thing. That may signal their intentions. If they're pulling back the reins,
No. No.
no.
No.
So,
You know
no to
what?
your
They're not
second
spending any
question.
money.
Yes to your first question.
Yes, they are.
They're pulling construction permits. They're doing all sorts of things out there. Trina, are you aware of the construction permits? I know that in the last year, Judy had mentioned there were some significant projects that were coming
It's
down.
nice.
It's a good angle.
However, in that corporate world, just as the mayor identified, facility improvements are probably, those decisions are being made here. The decision to stay or not stay can be made in town.
And they have God's money, so they can,
Yeah.
pour it down a rat
they
hole
could
tomorrow if they
spend-
wanted to.
They could invest millions of dollars in facility improvements at the campus, and then the next day, the CFO of Southwest Bell or
Overall, there's no
SBC
guarantees.
makes a decision. We're moving everyone to Austin. And
We're
that's
worse.
overseas.
Second question. So as we're talking about being prepared, Mayor, any plans to do some economic development proactively about that property, any other properties that we think are developable, attractive parcels that might attract some atypical interest?
I think that is essentially what the master plan review goal is.
Okay.
Is to look at our existing business corridor, not expand the corridor to places that aren't for business. Look at our existing businesses and look at our existing corridor and try and encourage that and put us on a good heading for the next 30 years.
And when we had
Mr.
those,
Carone's property in my backyard would be a good place to start.
when we had
It's all local.
when we had those initial kickoff meetings with Somerset County and Parsons, their consulting firm on that, that was the very issue we presented, is looking forward to what follows, what comes next, what's the next life cycle if big old capital if AT&T decides to move or reduce its presence in that campus. Because remember, they may say we've got 979,000 square feet. Looking forward, we only need 200,000. So we're going to open up that other area for some other use, right? So one of the issues that we discussed was, well, what can we do to make sure that property can be best positioned for the next generation of what could be there? And looking at economic development, looking at trends in the market, and also certainly taking a look at, when Mallinckrodt took on the Dendrite building, one of the things Steve and I sat down with Mallinckrodt, we said, okay, you come here, and why didn't you go other places? And certainly also, we've been keeping an eye on the Merck property over, right across the border there in White House. And, the markets have been presenting that there is a contract for a tech company to take on that space. So, we think that is positive. And Anne has been trying to say something for the last couple seconds.
Have you guys been talking at all to Homedale, right, in terms of large-scale campuses that have been empty? Somerset Development and the old Bell Labs building is the current Cinderella story.
I
Right,
can't say
they're-
I can't say we've been
Yes.
personally.
Well, yes, actually, yes.
You have?
Yeah.
All right. I can't say we've had very formal meetings with our counterparts in Homedale, But I will say that many of us on the board have been watching that carefully, reading up on it. He's got a little bit of juice in that industry, so yeah, he's probably heard a little bit about it. I haven't personally, but we've also been keeping tabs on what's going on down the street at the old Sanofi campus, which is trying to do something similar right in our backyard. So, I mean, those are all things that we're watching. Maybe some have talked directly.
Well,
some haven't.
so when we were down at the League of Municipalities, Tom Miknowitz, who used to work in Bedminster at Advanced Realty, Tom is now one of the senior guys over at Somerset Development. I bumped into him literally in the hallway because he was doing a presentation down there about Bellworks, and we talked a little bit about repurposing these old, large, single-purpose campuses, and certainly Tom and some of the vested interest. But we did talk about it a bit, and I've also spoke to folks who work in that complex, and they think it's great. It's still, I don't believe it's fully tenanted.
Not yet, but they're doing remarkably well given the amount of space they have to
Yes,
lease.
there's a million one.
It's a
million
lot
two.
of space, yeah. It's a huge.
Yeah. So so we certainly keeping an eye on that. And look, when you look at what Somerset County Planning presented to us, they had an eye on that as well.
Yep.
And so one of the alternates that was presented was looking at that conceptually, not just a mixed use, but a multi-use facility where you can incorporate all sorts of different retail, office, residential, put together in one complex. So it's out there. Yeah, certainly that is one consideration. And we're not. The AT&T campus is a little bit different. And Rich and I have talked about it. Sitting there at 287, 78, 22, 202, 206. Its own exit ramp, so it's got a little more possibilities than perhaps Homedale has. But we'll see.
They're the first ones that have seemed to got traction, right?
Took a while.
Yeah,
Took a long
it took a
time.
very long
It
time.
took a while.
And a lot of commitment on the part of Somerset Development, right there.
Yes, they were carrying an empty building for a very, very long time. It went through multiple scenarios. The first approach by the first developers that were looking at it were tear the damn thing down, which
Right,
is a
build
lot of people
condos.
wanted, but
Right.
but it was the historical group within Homedale. So do your best to work with what you have, because they gave it historical.
Arno Sorensen design.
Great. And what else was discovered? First recorded the black hole.
The
evidence
Crawford Hill.
Yeah, the evidence supporting
No,
black holes.
this is the microwave background radiation, which is left over from the Big Bang. That's what was discovered there by Pence's Wilson.
You need an MIT professor to give you information we got.
And they got a Nobel Prize for that. But by the way, we had someone here, I don't remember the name anymore, they wanted to build that same sort of thing of mixed use, right, apartments and small businesses, advanced, right. Apparently that's petered out, I guess.
Almost in my backyard. And so they're planning approval. They are putting a shop right. Apartments. drafted on. Cover.
Little plastic, little column, yeah.
So, yeah, so and I think it's right now, focused on that project.
But that actually, it does raise a point, because one of the things that we had that discussion with Somerset County, and Steve talked about this with the 202-206 business corridor, is originally, they came to us solely with the AT&T campus as their study. And we asked them to expand it because we didn't necessarily want AT&T by itself as an island, but rather looking at that corridor as one big study area to make sure that if it could be done, we're going to do a planning study how AT&T, how that property could work better with the advanced property, with the Malincrot property, and the other properties along 202-206. And Somerset County said that's great. And that's why the study morphed a bit. It did evolve from originally it was just going to be on the campus, but then upon the discussions, they agreed to look at how that property could be better integrated with both Bedminster Village and Twisted.
That's a good point. And you don't always look back too much, but you have very interesting and unique planning in that you have two village centers designated under the state plan. First of all, your whole township plan is endorsed by the state plan many years ago, but it's rare that a town has full plan endorsement. In addition to that, you have two designated centers that got resurrected by a motion at the State Planning Commission on sudden notice in 2015. I always thought it was strange that somehow your centers expired according to the State Planning Commission. It made no sense because Buckingham Village exists, Bedminster Village exists, they didn't go away, they didn't expire. But the fiat of one administration was they expired. And that was to try to get people to have to come back in to get them recreated. Now, in 2015, they were extended by fiat of the State Planning Commission, I think, probably to encourage people to do affordable housing. Basically, one meeting, two meetings, deemed extended. Well, your plans have envisioned those villages for over a decade. You encourage those villages. You try to maintain them. You try to keep them looking like and you're lucky to have that. Not too many towns have that great history. But it's a great history that exists in reality. You can see it. You know it. And your plans allow you to keep envisioning that. So as you go forward with your master plan, how do you want to update? How do you want to plan or vision the next 10 years or 20 years for that? Assuming all different scenarios, any of many scenarios. And it's a good time, to plan because things are a little slow in actual development. And yet you might have a vision that could be meshed with the county and with the island and with the private sector. And that's a great thing. And it's an interesting nuance too that the legislature just adopted some statute. It didn't really get much fanfare, but it basically says all the towns should include in their master plan a statement in the land use element of the master plan about smart growth and about resiliency. That's really having to do with floodproofing yourself and maintaining features that withstand storms and environmental sustainability. It doesn't really say what you have to do. It doesn't really say what to do. It doesn't really say you have to do much. But except it says, look at your land use element and put in statements about these subjects. And you sort of have done that in the past. And And I would guess there'll probably be a new administration with new procedures for the State Planning Commission and for the Highlands. And some of them may be contrary to our interest or whatever, or they may be similar to our interest. So you have to withstand this, sort of the winds of state administrations, but do what you want to do. And that's why planning ahead and putting it in your master plan and your ordinances is actually the ultimate control, because in New Jersey, technically, no one except the governing body determines the uses of land. It's hard to believe. Technically, exceptions of certain preemptions, no one except the governing body of 565 towns determines the uses. So a lot of people regulate them. A lot of people get to say no sometimes by governmental action. But governing bodies of towns get to set the uses. And the planning board, gets to set the master plan that's the foundation for those uses. So it's a big job that you have. Try to envision the master plan of the whole town, helping the governing body decide where is something permitted and where isn't. Zoning used to be viewed very negatively, but more in the past 100 years it's generally been viewed as positive in the sense of creating a rational plan for how one use is allowed in one area and not allowed in another. And that's, generally speaking, a good thing. But mixed use and smart growth have tried to encourage walkability, and that means uses could be incompatible next to one another, and you have to find design ways through architecture and other techniques and use control to encourage compatible uses to be close to one another or in the same building. And that's a great thing. And so that you may start feeling that you want to encourage that. Sometimes it's more incentive than it is mandate. Good luck.
So I look forward to the
Oh, Rich already made that motion.
I'll second that motion.
I think it's been voted already.